a short introduction for myself. I run Swarm. Swarm's going to be 3 years old soon. Okay. So my day job is that I do data visualization. To cut a long story short, the way I categorize data visualization is that first, it's either one of three facets. It can be more than one of three, but then at the base minimum is one of three facets. I either do it as an explanatory visualization, so I explain, exploratory, or I do it for monitoring. For today, I'm just going to focus on monitoring. So in the sense that monitoring, the way I look at it is that at the end of the day, I'm just giving feedback. So this is something I did a couple of months back at, what's the name of the hackathon? The Energy, the Energy Hackathon, essentially, right? So to read the graph, each block is a day, from left to right is Sunday to Saturday. Then top to bottom essentially is a calendar view, so it goes week by week. The background color from light to dark is the amount of usage per day. Inside you will get fine details of the energy usage. This is actually that data set from 2,000 households at a half hour granularity. So this guy's okay, interesting. More energy consumption on the weekends. After the first 2 weeks, they actually reduced the amount of energy they use. Okay, interesting. This guy is, I have no idea what went wrong. So it starts at about somewhere in August, and then down where the grey spot is somewhere in December, and then after that it will be the New Year's. So they probably went on, either they changed the household, or they went on holiday and they suddenly decided to buy new appliances. But before December, they were pretty good, and after that, they were pretty bad. This guy is pretty amazing as well. They bought a house and they only lived there for like 3 days. So essentially what I do, on the same theorem, on the same idea, this one's from the diabetes hackathon. So each one's a day. Something I've learned during that hackathon is that if you have diabetes, your magic number is the HbA1c number, which is like a high score. Every day you try to keep it under 7. That's it. Anything above 7, you face health risk. So all I did is that I looked at the daily consumption, the daily trends for glucose level, blood glucose levels, and then I took the HbA1c number, which is the aggregate of the day. And for this guy, this Monday, obviously the focus is not good, Monday to Thursday, and then on the weekend something happened. I don't know what happened, but something happened. So for me, what I do is that I take the intangible and I make it tangible. That's all I do. I take something that, like energy consumption or blood glucose level, that is hard to perceive, and I let the person that's involved look at it again. So moving on. So essentially what happens is, what I'm going to talk about today is actually an extension of monitoring. It's actually something that I've been thinking about over the last year and a half for a bit, because I found this paper from Xerox PARC back in '96. It's on calm computing. It's actually about ambient computers that work in the background while you perform your own task. And there's this very interesting caveat to it, which is ubiquitous computing, whereby we transit from a phase whereby there's a one-to-one relationship with computers to many computers to one of us. And what I find interesting is that we are almost at a stage, or we kind of are at a stage whereby it makes sense. So the other paper the other essay that I was really influenced by was this guy from Obram on architecture. So this is responsive architecture. Or continuous measurement is a prelude to responsive architecture. So, for those who actually heard the term responsive in design terms, especially in web design, that is like a watered down version of this. Responsive architecture essentially means that you take the context and you let the building respond to it. So it's like Terminal 3. So if you go to Changi Airport Terminal 3 during the day, right, none of their lights are on. There is no artificial lighting. But at any point in time, the light is evenly distributed because they manage the skylight through this idea of responsive architecture. They continuously measure what's going on the outside and they adjust the skylight accordingly. So even though the lighting outside might be different, the inside will always be evenly distributed. So that's responsive architecture. So based on these two things, I've been quite interested in this thing called, and okay, I won't go to any information first, but where it comes into place in this time and age is that you have things like this, you have hardware. So before the Raspberry Pi there, you have things like cloud computing. You have always connected devices like a smartphone. You have this Raspberry Pi here. And then at CES, they announced this, Edison, which is the size of an SD card, and apparently has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capability. So you have computing power at a very accessible rate. And oh yeah, something about the Raspberry Pi is that it takes 4 watts of energy power, which is what I like about it. Apparently this takes a lot less. You have this idea of pervasive computing anywhere. But on top of that, apart from just computing, right, you have sensors. So this is where the diabetics data set came from, which is from Medtronics. This is their sensor. They do it at 5-minute intervals. I'm not selling the product, but then I found it very interesting. So that's what they do. They pierce it through your skin, and then you wear it for the whole day, and you offload it to the machine. This idea of continuous measurement, after reading about responsive architecture, to me, became very interesting. Just like what they were talking about, Silverline, you have your iPhone, you have your smartphones as well, which are sensors. You have essentially pervasive sensors. So not just that you have pervasive computing, you have the ability to look at the context all the time. So essentially what I look at nowadays, or what I'm kind of obsessed about nowadays, is this idea of ambient information. So just like ubiquitous computing is calm computing or ambient computing, ambient information is the data interface to calm computing. So, okay, the tagline for this, I took it off Intercom's blog. Only one of these weather apps actually solves the problem. And then to cut the story short, it's actually this one. And it says you should bring your umbrella today, and that's all. So the computer actually does the work for you and tells you when you have to do a certain task. So for my side, this is a corner in my office. I eat my own dog food. So this is how I consume. It's where I kind of play with things. So this is how I read the news. So on the back end, what this does is that it actually takes a couple of news feeds from Singapore, ranks it kind of like Hacker News by freshness and popularity, and then I just get to kind of consume the news automatically. This one was me goofing around, looking at the hashtags breakfast, lunch, and dinner just to see what people are eating. Then this is actually for an e-commerce site, looking at what people are selling, what people are buying. Because to a certain extent, e-commerce is kind of this intangible thing, whereby you have this virtual checkout that nobody actually ever sees. So the way I describe all these things are like glanceable displays. So you only look at them, you never actually interact with them. Doesn't mean that glanceable is the best. That's why I use the word data interface. Because to say visualization is actually too restrictive a term. Okay, so this is actually the first documented ambient object. So it's this thing called the dangling string. And all it does is that it's connected to the router in an office. And the more packets move through the router, the faster the string spins. So at any point in time during the day, you know who is on torrents. Because when someone is downloading something, the rope spins really quickly. So this is something else I found today, which is Show Me Shower Heads, which essentially just shows you the water consumption for your shower. And the funny caveat for this research paper is that one of the couples that were involved in the research, they were arguing about who spends more time in the shower. And the answer is, yes, the wife spends more time in the shower, but she only uses half as much water. So this is the power, I forgot the name of the power cord, but this is the power cord which essentially the more power that the power board draws, the brighter it glows. It's as simple as that. So if you plug into a lamp, it just glows like that. If you plug into a fridge, you know that you're not going to get any sleep. And last but not least, this is Alliance Arena. So for those who watch soccer, this is in Munich. So when it goes blue, okay, no, when it goes red, okay, the obvious one. When it goes red, Bayern Munich is playing in the stadium. When it goes blue, some might know, some might not know, TSV 1860, 1860 Munchen is playing in the arena. If it glows white, they're hosting the national squad. And then of course there is the odd occasions whereby they crisscross the colors, which means they're playing against each other. So, I mean, all these things are becoming, I mean, okay, part of the interesting part for me is that these things are becoming very accessible. On the left is Philips Hue, on the right is Vulcan Wemo, which is coming out soon, which is going to be half the price of the Philips. They're all connected devices. So, yeah, to me, that's my interest right now, which is to look at the ways, okay, just a short caveat. So this is actually my setup. Initially, I didn't have the display, I only had this. So I only had the speakers, and then I was experimenting with what can you use as an output. I mean, how do you use sound as an output for information? And it boiled down to actually this question: what's notification worthy? What's worthy of your time to be interrupted during the day? And these are the questions that I've been asking myself when I'm doing these explorations, whereby I don't want to waste my time. Essentially, if you're on an iPhone or you're on Android or any smartphone, you don't waste your time going through notification center. So where this ties in with the rest of the stuff, I just build the interfaces. There are businesses like the model building. You have all these data, you have all these models. Those are what tell me what's interesting. So that's it for me. Thank you.